edition. That is also where we are into the Wednesday edition of the show, of course. With me, Farish Majid, where we are going to be discussing a lot of issues, and these are the issues that are also really happening in your society, within the different media platforms, and also really within your areas, because we want to make sure that you are not left out, and that is why the KOKOLIRIKO live show comes in your ways every Mondays to Fridays, right from 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock with me, Farish Majid, where on some occasions we also really invite guests with whom we discuss on some of those issues in here, and where you as the viewer can still share your thoughts and opinions in relation to what we discuss here. And it being also Wednesday, remember yesterday was the 3rd, where we marked the World also really Persons with Disability Day, and really a lot of issues also really came out, and we did see many people also standing in solidarity with them, because usually we say everybody is a potential candidate to disability, and that is why we must always celebrate these important days with them, and we must celebrate them on such occasions, and so that solely they are not left out, and they shouldn't also really feel that they are not treated well, because a person living with disability is never out of their wish. I don't think if there's anyone who wants to be disabled, even if those who are driving are not minding of accidents, still there's no way they want to feel disabled, because many of the times they're just driving out of excitement. But this festive season, I want to remind you, let's be vigilant, let's be cautious, let's be mindful of all road users, because you are not the only road user who is going to be using this road. Let's also really learn to live and share this road with the rest of the road users, be it the cyclists, be it the motorists, be it everyone, even the pedestrians. Let's learn to use these roads with them, even the animals, because these are also part of the road users. Many of the times you see people knocking the animals, which is really wrong, and something which we feel is really against the law in there. And that is where we did also witness the World Disability Day, and President Museveni, that is reiterated also commitment to championing interests of PWDs, and that is exactly what we did see, where President His Excellency reaffirmed the government's dedication to promoting the welfare of persons living with disability in Uganda, and he made the remarks while speaking in a message read by Vice President Jessica Lupo during the International Day for Persons Living with Disability celebrations in Kumi District, where Mr. Museveni emphasized his government's role in fostering inclusivity, and that is exactly what we did see happening there. He noted that government also has taken affirmative action to combat cultural and social injustice affecting the persons living with disability, and that is exactly what he also really talked about. And he said his government is also committed to making sure that the persons living with disability are not left out, and today we have seen that also happening. And this year the theme for these celebrations was improved household income for the well-being of persons living with disabilities, aligning with the government's fight against poverty. And if you look at the government's campaign this time around, it focuses on what we call government programs that also really aim towards eradicating poverty. That means we are also fighting to make sure that poverty does not also really go on in there. Mr. Museveni also urged the PWDs to embrace wealth creation initiatives like the different government programs of the parish development model. We have a Myoga and the rest which are coming up, and this is where he did also ask the people with disability to also really embrace some of these programs. I really want to say there's a portion of some of this money allocated towards persons living with disability. It's also really very much important for us to tell them about this money, that this money exists, and we therefore have to go on and also get this money. It is actually us to tell them, because sometimes the people living with disability may not understand what this parish development model campaign is all about. They may not be understanding this government poverty eradication drives, and we want to say this time around, it is time for us to also really stop looking at persons living with disability as beggars. It is time for us to also start supporting them. Let's support their business, let's support what they do. Certainly, we do not have people on the streets begging. So I think it's also high time that we include these people in some of these government programs, where the money that is meant for them should be given to them, and let them also use this money in terms of also really making sure they change the livelihoods. And that is exactly what we want to see happening, and we hope at the right time this, of course, will be a success. Now, highlighting Uganda's progress, he noted that also 38% of household remain in subsistence farming, calling for a transition that is to the money economy, and that is what we did see happening there. Minister for Labour, Gender and Social Development, that is Betty Amonge, outlined leading causes of disabilities in Uganda, where it says some of these issues included prenatal factors, which constitute up to 19%. We have malaria constituting also that is some 10%, and traffic accidents contributing 7%. And if you look at these road accidents, then you realize indeed they are causing a lot of road accidents. But it is time that we also really start sensitizing people about road accidents, most especially towards the period we are getting into. If you look at the festive period, I want to say we're already in there. People are just counting down days to the Christmas season, but this is also where now people must be under pressure. Others may also really be living under pressure of also getting money towards also really enjoying the days. But I really want to say it is just a day that also we must prepare for. You don't have to be under panic. All in all, you have to also make your strategies also work, and that is how at the end of the day you will be getting money for celebrating these days in here. And that is exactly what we want to also really ask people to also do, because really sometimes people may put a lot of efforts now, most especially about the riders, which may also at the end of the day land them in trouble, because people want to see new clothes, people want to buy new chicken, people want to buy goat. Really, you realize also it's going to cause a lot of pressure on them, most especially the border riders. You find somebody loading just because he wants that money. You find somebody riding at a terrible speed just because he feels he must look for money in these remaining days. I want to say it is not also under pressure that you must also professionalize yourself. It's time that you tell your families, I do not have enough money. All I have can buy for you the food for these days. I cannot buy for you clothes. And it also goes back to the women. Let's stop putting the men on pressure during this period here. Let's also understand our families. Let's understand what our men are going through. So that's already nobody is under pressure, which also may lead them in trouble. And that is where we want to say, let the PWDs embrace some of these government programs. Also it caters for them, because if you look at disability, we're having 7% also really as main cause also of the PWDs in there. Because if you look at accidents, each and every time we are reporting an accident, and that also justifies why 7% of the persons living with disability as a result of an accident. Because many of the times, if there's an accident, we see people's legs being chopped, people's spinal cords being affected. We see people also really losing other parts of the body. So I think it is also really something which is not also really a lie. That means we therefore must also really join hands and talk to the riders, talk to the drivers about issues of overspeeding. We must also really encourage them to desist from overspeeding. Because as a passenger, you have the rights, you have the obligation, you have the duty of telling this driver, please stop this speed, reduce it. If not, I'm walking away. And that is quite enough for you to already witness a reduction in maybe a likeliness of an accident. Because if you look at that, overspeeding has been as main cause also of accidents in this country. And that is something which we feel at the end of the day also really we must also join hands and talk about. And remember, the government also really yesterday also did ask the parish development board also really to some PWs also really embrace all these programs, and where the government actually committed to also supporting the ideas and also champion to also support the person living with disability in these government programs. Now, if you look at under the parish development model, 10% of the funds have been allocated towards person living with disability, an additional 30 million for well-performing groups under the Myoga initiative, which is only for the person living with disability. And today I want to really say that some of the PWDs are doing quite well. We have PWDs who have also built houses. We have PWDs who are doing pretty well. And that means disability is not inability. So I think we must also have that slogan at our foreheads. We must always carry it wherever we go as person living with disability. Let's also accept that indeed we are disabled, but that cannot also stop our abilities into performing. We must perform just like the normal people. I've seen a person living with disability performing very well. I've seen them performing in school. So it means there's no way that we must use this as an excuse not to work hard. And we did see the president, of course, reaffirming the government's commitment, that's to empowering PWDs and recognize their contributions in Uganda's development. And according to 2023 World Health Report, 16% of global population lives with disabilities. And we did also list Africa's home to over 80 million PWDs, including 2 million children in Uganda who are said to be disabled in there. Now the president called on Ugandans to adopt health lifestyles and heed to NRM's advice on poverty alleviation for prosperous future. And this is exactly what we did see happening out of the person living with disability day yesterday. And that means as families, let's accept to also support our PWDs. It's really sad that today we also still see PWDs who would not go to school. Yet we have several initiatives by the government to sort of make sure there's inclusive education for persons living with disability. I really love what I'm seeing in some of the schools. Arop Primary has one, I do understand Jakosole has one. And then other schools in our district sort of do, and I do understand they have facilities for handling persons living with disability. But it's really sad that today also we see the performance is not being well. It means maybe something is not adding up somewhere, something is not working out. That thing is also the exact thing pushing out many PWDs out of education. Recently we did see the mock results being released, but I must say I wasn't pleased by the results of persons living with disability, most especially in the Arua Central Division. So I feel there's something government needs to do and have that inclusive education for persons living with disability, and that is how at the end of the day we do not want to see persons living with disability also suffering. And on a quite sad note, we do not have secondary schools which have these units for persons living with disability. So it is also really something which is making the PWDs to mingle with the normal colleagues also in there, and that is how at the end of the day, when exams are set, no consideration is given towards persons living with disability, most especially those who have hearing impairment, those who are visually impaired, those who also have issues when it comes to solely writing. So I think it's something also the government needs to consider as also the factor when these examinations are being set. I do understand there's also a provision for examiners to be brought who also guide this person living with disability in these examinations, but really there's a lot more that we need to do. And remember also really my humble appeal will be that as we are celebrating the 16 days of activism, today happens to be that is the 4th, that is the day into the month of December. That means we are counting down 6 days for the days to come to an end. But PWDs are not spared out of also as a result of the gender-based violence in families. So I feel we need to also embrace, that is also the campaign, to also touch the persons living with disability. Let's also improve on their rights. Let's push for them to make sure that they live in a world where there's no gender-based violence. Recently, somebody was able to tell me that these PWDs, most especially the ladies, during the day they are disabled, but at night to some men they are not disabled. So there are some men who sneak into the houses of these people living with disability, and how is that justified? At the end of the day, you realize the person living with disability is pregnant. Who are these people who impregnate them? We have seen mad people who are impregnated, we have seen visually impaired people who are impregnated, we have seen the deaf impregnated. How do they get pregnant? It is something that remains unclear. So I think it is only something that shows, yes indeed, during daytime people may be calling them all sorts of names, but during night, they are actual women, some people also. So I think it's also high time we stop this kind of violation of the rights of persons living with disability, for them to solely live together. If you love them, marry them. Make sure that you are proud of them, so that they also do not feel out of place. And that is how at the end of the day we want to see dowry being given also for persons living with disability. We want to see weddings of persons living with disability, so that nobody is left out. With that, we come to the end of this half of the hour. When we bounce back, we shall be continuing the discussion from there. My name is Farish Majid. This is the KOKOLIRIKO live show on West Nile TV channel 477, and also that's on StarTimes, and also online across all our social media platforms. Not forgetting also the Zuku, where we are in there. That's on satellite. That is channel 0073, and Azam, that is channel 369, where we are always lively to also give you what's happening in and across the world. For now, we are taking a short commercial breather. When we bounce back, the discussions will continue. Stay tuned.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Unwrap your holiday cheers with StarTimes this Christmas season. Starting the 15th of November, simply pay your monthly subscription for the next bouquet and automatically enjoy content on the next higher bouquet, plus a chance to win exciting prizes. Your gift box contains variety of local entertainment and fresh shows, exciting cartoon and fun kids entertainment, mega superstars, local and international, a memorable trip to Spain to watch a La Liga match. And that's not all. Lots of prizes to be won, including ZTE Nubia smartphones with free 15 GB Airtel data. StarTime's gift that keeps on giving. Merry Christmas. This message is powered by ZTE Nubia. Better for all.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Alright, welcome back from that short commercial break. We are back into the second half of the show. In case you are just joining us right now, you're most welcome for this edition of the KOKOLIRIKO live show. It's a Wednesday morning, and I want to say it's a really bright one from Arua City where we are. I don't know how it is in other parts of the world. I really want to say so many things happened yesterday where we are the World Person Living with Disability Day. So many people also already came out to celebrate with them, but in Arua City, in the Arua district, we never saw any serious celebrations, but really we hope the celebrations are there to be commemorated if at all they're to be commemorated, and if at all they were celebrated, we also want to know what came out, because many people were asking themselves, where are the persons living with disability? It is their day, but we're not seeing them up. We are waiting to see what they will exactly say, because many of the times we want to say, we want to be inclusive, we want to be with them, and we are also already part of them, and therefore we have to walk the journey together. And that is how we did see that happening yesterday, and we hope at the right time we shall be also really hearing from them. We want to make sure that people living with disability do not also really feel left out. And then really also the same note, yesterday we were able to see leaders of Arua City walking to one of those areas where the bridge has broken down. That is River Osu Bridge, which currently is in a deplorable status. The leaders also walked in there and met with the community members, and this is where they also came out and resolved that they will be allocating some money, worth over 200 million, to also make sure they work on this bridge for on a temporary basis as they try to look for money and also funding under the next project, so to make sure they also prioritize this bridge, which today is really very much in a poor status. So many things also came out where the community members said over time they have been losing lives at this bridge here, which also is like a T-junction where people who come from up sometimes end up ramming into the wall fence of an individual who also constructed in there. So indeed the bridge is not in a good status, and that is why there is now effort to shift this bridge, and the plans are already underway where the bridge will be relocated to next to where the scaling center of Honorable Atima is. And I was able to see Honorable Atima also moving together with also the rest of the leaders, where he was joined by town clerk, he was joined by the mayor, that's the Arua City, to also talk to the people about the same bridge, and they also attributed the delays to repair this bridge as a result of lack of funding. That is exactly what we did see happening, and this was attributed to lack of funding, but we hope at the right time the monies that will also be allocated will do what is expected. I've seen currently they have also brought some stones, they have brought sand. That means the road currently has been blocked for heavy vehicles, but for the small motorcycles we have seen them maneuvering their way out through that is also bridge which connects, that is Arua City, to Aivu, to Terego, to Maniokolo. It is actually a connection bridge. Many people will pass through this same bridge here, and you realize indeed it is a connection hub. But if it is not worked upon, it's going to be cutting many people out that side to come to the city, which may also be very much challenging, where they will have to incur other costs other than using this shortcut also that connects them to Arua town. So I think it's also high time that people raise this concern, and I was able to see community members calling for a quick intervention and quicker response from the city leaders to work on this bridge. And they also gave examples where children drowned, where school children who walked to the other side, we are able to sort of drown. Because if you look at Osu Bridge, it is actually one that connects several villages. If you look at Uchiba Coast, for you to cross there, if you want to cross to what we call the data cells, you are also a lot is happening in there, and that is also a bridge which we feel must be prioritized. And this is exactly what the leaders are also assured of. And now the city leaders will have to generate money, where Ivo Division will have to pull something, because it's also a bridge that connects them to Ivo East. Definitely the division will also have to pull some money, and then Central Division also really is to pull some money, and this money is to put together and work on the bridge. And the city engineer actually came out and made the BLQ, which also will be also used to work on this bridge. And that is exactly what we want to see, because many of times we have been singing this song, but now hope is coming. And I really want to say we are keenly following up and want to see how, of course, this will be ending. And this is where we expect this bridge to be worked upon, most especially during this period here. And so people will now have to walk freely without also really walking as if you are going to fall into water, because we have had scenarios where people have fallen into water and drowned. Really very much wrong. And then we have had scenarios where people lose control of map. You look at the bridge, really it is like it's at a steep place. Imagine you losing control as you're coming out from the upper side, and then you lose your brake, or your brakes fail, God forbid, and then I really don't know how, maybe what kind of story you will be able to tell, but on several occasions we have had people losing their lives. Motorcycle riders have died in there. There was a driver who also died in there. So I think it's high time that this bridge must be shifted, and when it is shifted, that is how we shall be saying, indeed, this bridge has been worked upon. But if repairs are to be done, we don't know what may happen, but we are saying we are keenly for it. The city leaders actually have said in the next programs, that is of USMID, they will be able to solely interest USMID also to go towards that bridge and make sure that it is worked upon. And that is exactly what we want to see. We want to see how this bridge, of course, will be also really moving on, and how to be repaired. And that will tell us how exactly we want to also really move safely, because usually we say we want to be safe on the roads, but if at all the roads are not well, then that is where we are going to be having challenge. Remember, due to also the impact of climate change, Most bridges across the country are being broken, and this is not the only bridge that we also seeing being broken down. In Arua City, I know of two. That is this bridge of Osun. Then there's another in Okali, which has also been broken down as well. And all these bridges need to be worked upon, because that one of Okali is actually connecting to DRC, and that is how we need also to have these bridges worked upon. Once they are worked upon, then we shall be seeing improvement, that is of goods and services. That would also tell us how maybe the city also will be able to make more money from that. And that is how we shall be seeing that happening, and we are keenly following up on, and we want to see government work on this bridge timely as requested by the community members, that is of Osusel, and that is how we want to see how that, of course, will be also working on. And I was able to see the LC1 chairperson, that is Farida of that is Olu Disel, also coming out and also talking about this same bridge, where her people who are working from the other side have also as well been cut off. So I think it is high time that we prioritize working on this bridge in the next financial year. We must also include it, though the budget may have also been developed already, but we are saying ways, strategies may be changed here and there. Certain things may be touched, and to make sure that we identify funds to also work on this bridge, then it will be quite well. And that is exactly what is happening, and we hope at the right time also we shall be seeing more of those developments going on in the country. And that is how at the end of the day we want to see how this, of course, will be moving on. And that is where we shall be pausing the discussion in relation to the Osu Bridge. But you can share your thoughts and opinions in case you have known and seen how dangerous the bridge is. Then definitely you will know why it is important for government to prioritize working on this bridge into this next financial year, and also in the shortest time possible in there, so that certainly more lives are not lost, because we don't want to see more lives being lost. And that is how at the end of the day we are going to be very much happy, and we hope that would also really help us in terms of also really making sure that we are peaceful and we are safe as we are on these roads. And now the top stories have been also in relation to Besigye's arrest, and now we did see Supreme Court locking journalists as Besigye's lawyers meet law counsel. Is a story that we did see also really happening, that is yesterday, and so many issues also continue to come out as a result of the arrest of retired Colonel Kiza Besigye. And this is something which we are seeing also in the morning papers. This is on the Nile Post, where we did see journalists have been also denied access. That is the Supreme also really court, where Dr. Kiza Besigye's legal team led by Elias Lukwago and Kenyan lawyer Martha Karua held a meeting that is also with results from the Uganda Law Council, that is to identify and find ways of how she can be included, that is as part of the legal team to solely practice in Uganda on behalf of, that is retired Colonel Kiza Besigye, together with his counterpart, that is Obed Utale, who were picked from Kenya. And now the meeting focused on obtaining permission for Ms. Karua to join the defense team representing retired Colonel Kiza Besigye and his friend, that is Obed Utale, before the General Court Martial in Machindi. And yesterday we did see the court martial by Brigadier Freeman also really further remanded Besigye. That was the day before yesterday, actually, until December 10th. And the judgment followed, that is also Lukwago's request for additional time, citing what we call the pending approval from the Uganda Council for Ms. Karua to also really formally participate in the case. And that is exactly what we did see in relation to this matter. But we hope this matter also wouldn't also move on. We want to see how, of course, this matter will be also addressed. If Besigye and his friend are innocent, then we want to see also them being freed, because in most cases we say you are innocent, you are guilty until proven innocent, and you're innocent until proven guilty, because for now I want to say he is innocent, and under the presumption of that also really, and he is entitled to also police bond or other issues, and that is where we are now following up on that. We want to see how, of course, the retired army man together with his friend can be freed. Now Dr. Besigye and Utale, remember we are picked from Kenya, that was last month, on the charges of illegal possession of ammunition and firearms also really, as well as endangering the security of the defense forces. And the two had traveled to Nairobi for Ms. Karua, who is trying to start for them to launch the book, and that is exactly what is happening. And Ms. Karua is a former Justice Minister in Kenya, a seasoned advocate for High Court, and also has offered to also join Dr. Kiza Besigye's case as part of the defense team in there. And that is exactly what we are keenly following up on. And we want to see how, of course, this matter will be now ending, because many of times people have not been necessarily happy that this matter has taken long. But we are keenly following up on, we want to see how, of course, this matter will be proceeding and how it will be ending. But at the right time, I will be giving information in relation to what is likely to come out of there. And that is exactly what we want to see happening. And we hope that also will be telling us of how we want to see our country sort moving on peacefully. And that is exactly what we want to see, sort put aside in there. And we did see journalists be blocked from accessing the facilities. That means the fourth estate was not allowed to move in there. Remember, these lawyers have also often raised concern, most especially about the body searches and legal setbacks at the General Division Court Martial. And I was able to see one of the lawyers, that is Aaron Kiza, who also represented the Kiza BSJ, also really talking about harassment, and he's saying it was a difficult moment for them to access, that is the court. Was it a form of intimidation? Definitely that remains unknown. And that is exactly what we did see happening, and it came out from them, and we hope at the right time, government also will be addressing this matter once and for all. We do not want to see this matter proceed, and that is how at the end of the day, we shall be seeing also this matter moving on. Now, a TikToker drones in River Nile during outing. This is another sad story we are seeing, because you go for enjoyment and then you end up losing your life. That is also really something very, very much difficult and also really hard to take in there. Now, police in Zeru have launched a search that is for the body of a TikToker who tragically drowned in the River Nile. That was on December 1st of this year, and in the incident occurred during a recreational outing. That's at the Nile Resort in Zeru Municipality, that's in Buiko District. And the deceased that has been identified as Issa Sekamanya was among a group of friends who traveled from Kampala to also have laser also in there. And according to preliminary reports, the group also was playing netball and near the river when the ball was thrown towards Sekamanya, but landed in deeper waters, and that is exactly what is happening. Now, in an attempt to retrieve the ball, Sekamanya also ventured into the river's deep section and drowned, and that is exactly what is happening in there. Now, despite efforts from his friends to rescue him, they were unsuccessful. Instead of also seeking immediate help, the group returned to Kampala and only informed his parents the following day in there. Now, Sizibo Regional Police spokesperson, that is President Police Helen Butoto, confirmed the Sekamanya's body is still missing, and authorities are working towards retrieving it from the river. And social mentioned that police are investigating the incident and searching for one individual allegedly connected to it, and that is where we did see the incident also occurred in a deep section of the river, also where strong rapids and fast-moving waters also made rescue efforts difficult. And authorities are hopeful that the body will be found downstream near the Bujagari hydro dam in there, and that's exactly what we are keenly following up on. Now, Special Police Potato urged the public to exercise caution near water bodies and also follow safety precautions to prevent similar tragedies in the future. And the sad event also endorses the importance and also underscores the importance of heightened awareness when engaging, that is, in recreational activities near dangerous water bodies. And that means as we are moving on to also celebrate along the shores of these rivers, let's be cautious, let's be vigilant, let's be mindful of how we want to solely live our lives in there, because if at all we are going to be living in that way, then we are likely to solely endanger our lives, which may be very much wrong. So I think it's the right time as we are moving to solely celebrate, because during this festive season, this is when we witness a lot of recreational activities. As we are getting towards this period, let's avoid being counted as part of the statistics next time. It's quite simple. Let's be cautious, let's be vigilant, let's be mindful of how we also want to enjoy, because sometimes enjoyment leads to death. We have seen it happening, just like these colleagues who have gone to swim. Now one of them has gone. Instead of reporting to authorities so that also the faster rescue mission can be carried on, they decided to move away. So I think that is also something which is wrong, and therefore we must also join hands and make sure that we are safe towards this period, because this period is usually characterized by a lot of issues, which among others includes accidents. And that is how we want to solely say, as we are getting towards this period, the different water bodies also are going to be having overwhelming population. Many people are going to be coming, most especially the beaches and also the shores along these rivers where people swim. These are going to be witnessing an increase in population, and also they are going to be overwhelmed by numbers coming out to solely celebrate within this period in there. So I think it is high time, first of all, let's avoid tendencies of over drinking, because many times people solely overdrink, once they fall in these water bodies, they lose energy, they become energyless. So I think it's only something which I would also want to encourage as we are going to celebrate towards this period. Let's ensure that we have the life jackets, because this is when we are going to be witnessing people want to cross over to the islands. This is when we are going to be witnessing people want to also have what we call the boat, or what we call the ferry beaches, the parties. We have seen them happening, we have seen them being organized, and during this period, this is when you realize that solely sometimes accidents are very much common, where people can be blown by wind. So I think to avoid such deaths, before we walk onto these old water bodies, let's ensure we have the life jackets. This goes back to the organizer of these parties. Let's also ensure that the safety precautions are in place. Certainly nobody who comes to celebrate within also your premises dies as a result of that is such tragedies, and that is how we want to also encourage and call upon each and everyone out there who is planning to celebrate within this period also to avoid. In Arua, in West Nile sub-region, we have also our places that are emerging, and I really want to say, as we are walking those places, please let's be mindful of the negative also likeliness that may also come up ahead of us. Let's be very much cautious. Let's not solely leave our friends. Let's move together with them so that nobody dies in there. Now that's where we are going to leave the discussion aside, and we also want to pray for the soul of this deceased who went to solely celebrate also with his friends to rest in eternal peace. Because these are people who are promoting also our places, and this is exactly what we want to solely advocate for. Because if we have Ugandans who moved to such places, then these are people who are actually promoting the most domestic tourism, and that is exactly what we want to solely pray for. And we don't want to see such bad things happening. And remember, being people who love the country, that is the reason as to why we visit these places, and that means nothing bad should happen to us. Leaving that aside, moving on, 2 men have been arrested over kidnapping a 4-year-old girl in Kaliro. Another sad story where women have now turned out to be abductors or kidnappers. Quite sad and embarrassing at the same time. Now police in Kaliro district have arrested 2 women in connection to the kidnapping of a 4-year-old girl, a pupil that is of Bright Future Namukonge Primary School. And that is where we did see suspects, Mariam Namakobe, a 27-year-old from Namukonge village in Kaliro district, and Irene Babita, a resident of Kiringa in Nawandala sub-county in Iganga. We are taken into police custody to help in investigations as the matter is being investigated in there. Now the incident occurred up to November 29th, 2024, when the victim was already who was offered the bodaboda ride to school by uncle. A bodaboda cyclist already named Gasita did not return home. Very much sad and very much difficult, because this is something which we must also discourage. And investigation revealed that Namukawe was involved in abduction, admitting to receiving the child from Gasita and keeping her hidden. That's also in a nearby sugarcane plantation. Now on December 1st, Namukobe transferred the girl to Babita's residence, that in Kiringa, where police later recovered the girl also in there. And that is where we did see the suspect disappearing after finding out the information, and currently remains at large. Very much sad. If at all, women can now connive with men to do bad activities, because it's a criminal activity, something which I must say is very much wrong. Just imagine your woman or your mother is known as a criminal. Quite difficult. So I think it's something which we must also discourage from, because women are not known to be people of this nature. That is where we want to say, as women, lest these some practices that also really underscore our women, our reputation, that also put us in an image that is not suitable, because I don't want to say a woman can never be a criminal. We have cases, but I really want to say, let's avoid those cases. Let's also really minimize. Let's also desist, because a woman is a precious good. Most cases we say like that. Women are actually precious creatures. But if at all we start now seeing these precious creatures engaging in such activities, then many people are going to be also losing trust in them, and then people are not going to be also really supporting them in some of those activities. Now, Busoga North Regional Police spokesperson, Assistant Superintendent of Police Michael Kasada, confirmed the arrest and stated that investigations are ongoing to ensure that all individuals who have been also related to this case are face justice. And we did see Kasada revealing that also Namakobe had a similar history of incidents, once also faking her own abduction and demanding a ransom from her parents, which led to an early investigation. And the police have also urged the public to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activities to help reduce the rising cases of child abduction in the region. And this is where also as parents, as we are getting towards the festive season, usually we see on Christmas Day, on Eid days, on New Year Day, Boxing Day, on Independence Day, children move without being guided. Children move without the guidance of adults. Children move without the guidance of parents. How do we actually expect them to return back safely? In case of such scenarios, how ready are we to also trace their whereabouts? So I think it's something also which I want to also encourage parents to also interest themselves in. Let's also make sure that as we are working towards the festive season, we have safety measures put in place. We have also channels to make sure that our children return back home safely, because this is where we're going to be seeing people who have the ill intentions of abducting and also demanding for ransom, also really taking advantage of that. And this is where your own child, who is also really moving freely, who is moving unminded of what's happening and what is likely to come out of them, being abducted, and then they demand for heavy amounts of money from you, which sometimes you may not also have as parents. So I think to avoid all that, we've had scenarios where children are being abducted, and we have also had scenarios where people are being abducted and being killed, where people also fail to get this money, maybe pay this money. So I think to avoid all these activities as we are getting towards the festive season, let's learn to live with these children. Let's make sure that also nothing bad happens to them as we are walking towards the festive season. And that is how, at the end of the day, we wouldn't also want to see many people sort of dying in there. And that is how we want to also summarize this hour of the show. And this is the KOKOLIRIKO live show on West Nile TV channel 477 on StarTimes, on 0073 on Zuku, and that's also on Azam. We're also in there. That's also something I want to sort of remind you of. We are always there lively, Mondays to Fridays, 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock, with me, Farish Majid. We're on some occasions. We also invite guests also to come and share thoughts and share opinions on some of those issues affecting the country. For now, we are going to be taking a short commercial break. When we get back, the discussion will continue. Stay tuned.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Unwrap your holiday cheers with StarTimes this Christmas season. Starting the 15th of November, simply pay your monthly subscription for the next bouquet and automatically enjoy content on the next higher bouquet, plus a chance to win exciting prizes. Your gift box contains variety of local entertainment and fresh shows, exciting cartoon and fun kids entertainment, mega superstars, local and international, a memorable trip to Spain to watch a La Liga match. And that's not all. Lots of prizes to be won, including ZTE Nubia smartphones with free 15 GB Airtel data. StarTimes gift that keeps on giving. Merry Christmas. This message is powered by ZTE Nubia. Better for all.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back into the second half of the show. This is the KOKOLIRIKO live show on West Nile TV channel 477 on StarTimes and on Zuku. We're also in there. That's on 0073 and Azam, not forgetting also in there. We're also in there, and that means we are also really going to be everywhere. Want to also make sure that you are not left out. Want to be also really, so that also you get the information that you deserve to know, and that is how the morning show starts off your day. It's always good to start off your day from an informed point of view and also really in the know of what's making rounds in the country, and that's where the morning updates comes also in place to make sure that nothing is also left out, and we want to make sure that you have everything in your in there. So certainly nothing bad also happens and you are not aware of what's happening in there. Right, currently we are getting towards the festive season, and many people have been talking about that, and earlier on I talked very much extensively about it, but really you are solely as a reminder, it is important for you also really to make sure that you are safe within this period in there, and that is how you will be also really asking also yourself in there. With it that happening, stop asking about salaries of parliament staff. Speaker Anita Among also tells equal opportunities. That is something which we did see happening, and this is exactly what we are seeing on the morning papers on the Nile Post, and where we did see the Speaker of Parliament, Right Honorable Anita Among, has directed the Equal Opportunities Commission to stop asking for details of salaries of each legislator and parliamentary staff, and that's where we did see Ms. Among also really question the Commission's interest in such details, emphasizing that Parliament is an independent institution of government that also really does not deserve also to be over questioned. Now the Speaker's stance is clear, that is on Parliament's independence should be respected, and the Commission should focus on its mandate and responsibilities, and that is where we did see in response Attorney Kirero Chiwanuka noted that Equal Opportunities Commission its mandate is restricted to marginalized groups, promising to provide legal advice to entities seeking information, and that is exactly what we did see happening in there. However, also not everyone agrees with the Speaker's stance. Kira Municipality Member of Parliament, that's Ibrahim Semujungana, defended the Equal Opportunities Commission's request, arguing that information also really is necessary for comparison purposes. Now the Equal Opportunities Commission had written the clerk to Parliament requesting details of also the emoluments for each legislator, and also that is also where we did see the staff also being asked of how much they also earn in there as well. However, Ms. Among maintained that no such information was provided to the Commission, and the standoff also highlights the ongoing debate about the role of the Equal Opportunities Commission and the limits of its mandate, and that is where we did see that happening, where the Speaker actually came out and say this is not going to be possible. They are not going to be handing over the details of that information that is to the Commission. The Commission is its mandate, according to the Speaker, is to also really prove and advocate for the rights of the marginalized communities. If I talk about the marginalized communities, today we have also groups that feel marginalized. In West Nile, we have a number of them. We have the Kebu, we have the Nubi, we have the Kuku. All these are groups that are said to be marginalized. And recently we did see them advocating for a representative that is to Parliament in there, and that is exactly what we are following up on, and want to see how, of course, that will be also addressed, because many times we have seen that also happening, and that is how exactly we shall also be following up on the discussion. We want to see how, of course, it will be ending, but at the right time it will be moving on very, very much well as expected in there. And as we go to continue, so many is going to happen, and of course I will be also sharing them with you to make sure that you are not left out and you get all the information that you deserve also to also understand in there. And we are also seeing another story here popping up, where we did see lawyer Sebakade moves to block private prosecution of alleged insult. And remember, this man's wounds have not also settled. Recently he made a remark against direct public prosecution, that Jennifer Sabodo, calling her that kind of name, and many people do not feel happy about that, and they demanded for resignation. And the Law Council solely resolved to suspend the man in the names of Semakade Isaac in there, following also that remark, which was termed to be very, very much bad and undermining the reputation of a person of that nature in there. Now the Uganda Law Society President Isaac Semakade has asked Buganda Road Chief Magistrate Court to dismiss a private prosecution case against him insulting the modesty of the Director of Public Prosecution, that is Jennifer Sabodo, and Mr. Semakade, through his lawyers, Game and Advocates, has asked Ms. Abodo to oppose, that is the private prosecution, and that is exactly what we did see happening there. Now they argue that the case undermines the administration of justice and sets a dangerous precedent, that is for using the court to settle personal vendettas, and that is exactly what we did happen. Now the case also brought by lawyers, that's Joshua Byamazima and Tony Tumukunde, is scheduled for hearing, that's December 4th, which is actually today. That is before Justice Ronald Kaizi, and now the lawyers allege that Semakade made derogatory remarks about the DPP and an offense under Section 115, subsection 3A of the Penal Code Act. Now that is exactly what we did see happening. And last month, Mr. Semakade used language that also has been widely condemned as vulgar while speaking about Ms. Abodo's work as a chief public also prosecutor. Many people did not also take that keenly, and I was able to see members of parliament from Karamojong sub-region demanding for an apology from Isaac Semakade, and at one time we did see them also demanding for resignation and also risk being sued. And that is exactly what we are now seeing happening, and it's coming up, and we hope at the right time justice would be prevailing for all parties. If at all Semakade's remarks were lawful, because under the freedom of speech, I do understand sometimes people solely have their own opinions to say about certain things, but is it enough to defend Semakade? In this case, it is what something we leave in the hands of the lawyers. They will be also really understanding what exactly is coming out from there, and they will be making that judgment also depending on what we think is right. Because sometimes people also commit crimes and then they disguise and say, I said what I said using freedom of speech. But is it enough? Today we have seen TikTokers landing in trouble under Computer Misuse Act. It is also something that has arrested many of them. So I think it is also not enough. That means, therefore, we must join hands and make sure that some of these issues are put aside. Now, the proposed offense does not disclose a prima facie case. That is exactly what we are seeing as key issues raised in the motion. And the prosecution lacks the alleged victim's deposition, making the complaint legally insufficient. That's another issue where we are seeing that happening. Now, the allegations against Semakade are based on false and misleading claims, including misrepresenting Abodo's role and character. These are issues that we are seeing also emerging. And finally, the private prosecutors acted in bad faith and failed to involve, well, that's what we call prosecutorial authorities, to ensure impartiality. That's another direction also where we are seeing that also being raised. Now, the Director of Public Prosecution, Jennifer Sabodo, has hardly spoken about the controversial remarks by the Uganda Law Society President, who has garnered also a knack from the conventional under his so-called radical New Back campaign, where many people have been talking about that. Many people have actually been saying hitting the table. Is that the way? Maybe we should say he is hitting the table too harder. That is exactly something that remains unknown, but the judgment is entirely in your hands as the viewer. You can also really make sure that you share your thoughts on this matter. But Mr. Semakade has asked Mr. Abodo to formally address the court in support of his motion to dismiss the putative complaint on oath, and also put this matter to rest, arguing that it is a baseless and also amounts to an abuse of the legal prosecution. That is something where we did see Semakade requesting for a withdrawal of the case by the DPP, and that is exactly what we did see. And in the application, Mr. Semakade's lawyers claim that the private prosecutors have failed to obtain what we call the victim impact statement from the DPP, which also is crucial for establishing a prima facie case in a victim also is sentence charge, and they contend that without such a deposition, the court lacks jurisdiction to proceed with the matter, and under the Magistrate Courts also Act. Now that is exactly what we did see happening in there, and an implied private right of action, such as sought by lawyers Byamazima and Tumukunde, allows for private individuals to address such issues, and that is exactly what we did see Semakade feeling unhappy of. And now the case has also generated significant public interest, with calls from various quarters urging Mr. Semakade to apologize to the DPP, and that is something which we did see. And up to now, he has not apologized, because the DPP made also a stance clearly that Semakade should apologize for those remarks, which are said to be derogatory in nature. And now the Uganda Society President, however, has maintained his stance, arguing that the prosecution is in an attempt to silence him and tarnish his reputation. And Mr. Semakade's legal team also accused the private prosecutors of harboring personal animosity against their client and acting in bad faith. This is as per the lawyers representing the legal team of Isaac Semakade, the embattled Uganda Law Society president, and they urged the charges of the charges are about frivolous, vexatious, and also aiming at harassing the Uganda Law Society president, and the court will determine whether the private prosecution should proceed or be dismissed as requested by Mr. Semakade's lawyers, and that is exactly what we are following up on. I want to see how, of course, that will be ending, and that will tell us of what we are likely to encounter and what we should expect in the coming days as we follow up on this matter. And that is something which we are keenly following up on, and we want to see how, of course, it will be ending. That is how we are going to proceed that discussion, and we hope at the right time more details of this case will be coming. It's still a developing story, and something also which we feel is also really still there. That means it is not yet disposed. It's not yet over. We shall be letting you know how, of course, this matter will be ending. You as the viewer can share your thoughts and maybe also your opinions in relation to what we are discussing, and do you think the remarks that were made by Isaac Semakade were right? Should we also consider withdrawing that case by the DPP to also another court? That is exactly what also you can also be able to share your thoughts on, and I will be also checking through them on the comment section. And that's where we're going to be putting that discussion aside. But moving on, Deputy RDC Majembe is still under probe. That's another story we are seeing on. This is on the New Vision. And remember, the Deputy RDC Majembe was also picked some few weeks ago, and that is where today he is battling also the court cases also in relation to the matter. But we hope at the right time this issue also will be also addressed in there, and that is something which we are following up on, and we want to see how, of course, this will be ending. But as we get to move on, remember, so many issues will continue to happen in relation to that case where he was also arrested. But many people also have been also talking about this because he was arrested over cattle theft, something also which he is also facing charges of. Now the director of public prosecutions is still investigating theft cases against the Deputy RDC, that is Ivan Kamuntu Semakula, also known as Majembere. And now the said prosecutor, Arthur Masaba, told court on Tuesday that also presided over by Governor Magistrate Pauline Sabakaki of Gombe Magistrate Court that the investigation into the offense and against Majembere and others still at large as gathered also more evidence against the accused persons. And Majembere, 41-year-old, the deputy resident of Ruchiga, was charged together with 3 counts of criminal trespass, stealing cattle, and conspiracy to defraud. And this is a case also against which Majembere was also picked on. And that is something which we also feel we need to talk about, because as a person, as a public servant, definitely we do not expect you also to be in those activities. We do not expect even at one time your name to appear on those bad activities, but really, if at all, we are picking and also identifying your name on criminal activities, then that's going to be quite wrong. It may not also be very much right, and that means people are going to lose reputation in you and as an individual, and also and as the leaders, they will be losing reputation. The community members will not trust you. So to avoid all that, let's be mindful of how we live our lifestyle. Let's avoid activities that also will put us in risk and at high risk also of also tarnishing our names. Because at this case, I will freely say this: if they start trying you, even if you're innocent, your reputation goes. It is really very much dangerous and very much wrong also for us to also engage in such activities that also at the end of the day make people also lose interest in you as leaders. And that is where we shall also be putting that aside. And looking at President Museveni's campaign as against poverty, we did see him also talking something about there where he made a stopover, but I will be letting you know that. But still in relation to this case of cattle theft. Because before we get to Karamoja, you remember that is an area also where cattle theft is very much rampant. And that is where we did see in Gomba, Majembere today is still also battling those cases. and the warrant of arrest was issued against him. However, Masaba requested the court for a warrant of arrest against Majembere's co-accused, that is Amos Mwesije, a businessman who failed to respect court summons, and Mwesije is also facing the same charges as Majembere, and as per the charge sheet presented that before court, also by the Director of Public Prosecution, we did see them facing charges. And now prosecution alleged that in August 2023, Majembere and others still at large in Kamengo village in Madu in Goma district entered into land comprised of Gomba, also block 75, that is plot 2 at also Kamengo. And if you look at also that area, and then you have so the land possession of Oshangwa was where we did see this also people engaging in that activity that is said to be fraudulent. And now it is further alleged that Moisés and Majembere and others still at large in August 2023 stole, that is 157 cattle valued at approximately, that is 381 million, that is from the property of Oshangawa. And now prosecution is already further alleged that Majembere and others still at large conspired together to defraud Rushangawa of his land comprised of block 95, plot 2 in Gomba. And now all that is where we did see residents living in fear. And now the residents and occupiers of this land alliance said also they have been living in fear because they had the owners of the land are coming to evict them. So I think it's also something that also needs also a quick intervention. That means government must also make sure and talk to these people before nothing of active activity happens, because they people are living in fear, others are not even feeling safe. So that means we need to also make sure that also they are talked to, and they must also understand that this is a government program, and this is also an individual program. Government is already following up on and investigating on the matter to make sure that the group that have been involved in this activity are to face law, and they must also face the law, and they must also be brought to justice if at all they are found guilty of those activities. Now, PM 7 tips Karamoja communities on wealth creation. A story we are seeing on the morning this morning, and the president has continued with his tour of that area in there, and now he was also traveling somewhere and made a stopover, talk to community members, and that's something which we did see happening by the roadside, where the president was able to talk to pupils. I can be able to see as if they are led by a nun, and that's where we did see pupils putting on pink uniforms, and the president was able to talk to them and interacting with students. That's of Karasi Girls Primary School in Amudat. Also the underage teacher Sister Prosi was in there also to talk to the president. And the president also has emphasized that it is very easy to fight poverty. That's in Uganda due to the favorable environment and good government policies, and the programs so that are channeled towards also making sure that safety is there and the security is guaranteed. That means with the weather, it is only us to engage in those activities that will also make sure we move out of poverty. And that's why he said you should have goats, poultry, and cows, and others like pigs, and then you grow crops. All those are sources of income, and that's all money in there. Therefore, poverty is ignorance when people don't know what to do and where to also do and what exactly to do, and that is where he actually said and addressed poverty as an issue of ignorance. And remember, today he has also talked about subsistence, where many of the people have been growing now these crops for eating, but he also encouraged them to also plant for sale to make sure that also they make money in there. Now, the president also delivered the tips earlier on Tuesday as he commenced his wealth creation and PDM performance assessment tour in Karamoja sub-region. Remember, he has been touring other parts of the country. That's in Teso sub-region. Now he has jetted Karamoja to also make sure the impact of the parish development model is assessed. That is exactly what we are seeing as he continues moving in there. And now the president also delivered his tips that was in there, and now visiting Mr. Amos Rwembusi as one of the PDM beneficiaries and the livestock farmer in Amuda district. President Museveni also expressed gratitude to the people also in the area for listening to the National Movement Party message that is of peace, and today Karamoja is actually said to be witnessing some bit of peace. That is exactly what we are seeing. And if you move to Karamoja, personally I had an opportunity of moving to Karamoja. That was in Abim. The area is still witnessing huge unoccupied chunks of land. So that means it is high time that those unoccupied lands also can be turned into agricultural land. People should plant, but now with the issues of instability, today we want to thank the government for also making sure that there's some bit of stability in there, but there's more that needs to be done, because as we talk about peace, we still have issues of cattle rustling still happening. Many people are still losing their lives due to cultural rustlers. We still have issues of guns, which guns sometimes are feared to be also being brought by some of the security operatives. So I think it's high time that those issues also do not exist, and it shouldn't go further. We must make sure that also these activities help tell us that indeed there's something that needs to be done, and that thing is by the government improving on the security and sensitizing the people about the government programs. And these are programs that make sure people should move out of poverty. Then many people also will embrace some of these programs, and that is where we shall be seeing change and development also of the country. And that is where we did start happening. And the president was happy to hear that the population of the Pokot people had also increased, and that is exactly what we did see the president being happy about, where he also praised Mr. Wembusi for embracing the PDM and also his determination to grow his herd. And he reiterated the importance of government programs in eradicating poverty, and asked the people of Amuda to focus on income-generating activities like livestock farming, crop cultivation, and other ventures supported by the 4-acre model. And that is exactly what we did see the president also talking about, where he gave Mr. Rambus shillings of 5 million to grow his enterprise. And Peter Lokeris, the Minister for Karamoja, thanked the president for reintroducing the PDM and also other government initiatives also where people of Karamoja have benefited. And he admitted that initial doubts about the program also really success, but expressed gratitude for the significant impact it has had on the people of Amudat. And that is exactly what we did see, where testimonies came through Mr. Rembusi of Jumbe village, that is in Amudat, expressed gratitude to the government also under the wise leadership also in there. That's exactly what we did see happening. But we want to see more of the Rembusis coming up. We don't want to see this also just remaining as one person. We don't want to come here and just say this person did this and that. But we don't have the multiplier effect. That would be quite bad. We need to have a multiplier effect of such support. Because if at all he is supported, then others should be able to benefit from him. Others should be supported by him, simply maybe through looking at what he does. Because at the end of the day, that is what we want to see, and it is the way to go. Because Uganda, being an agricultural region, being an agricultural country, and really with also the kind of weather we have, that means it is quite possible. Let's embrace some of these government programs, the Paris Development Model, the Myoga, and the Bonawaga way that are all there to make sure that people also improve on their livelihood. That would also at the end of the day make sure that we improve on our livelihoods. That is the way to go if at all we want to witness development in this country. And that is how we are keenly following up on the discussions, and we shall be continuing with the discussions also in the coming minutes. Moving on from Karamoja sub-region, heading to Sabini. Sabini Culture Store revives male circumcision festival after 55 years. Remember, this has also been known by the Bugishu, but now we are seeing Sabini Cultural Institution reviving the male circumcision festival after 55 years. And that's where we did the cultural institution, that's the Sabini Institution, in collaboration with the government and various partners, has launched male circumcision festivals after stalling for 55 years. And that is exactly what we did see happening, where the cultural tradition also serves as an initiation ritual and the rite of transformation into manhood for young boys in the Sabei sub-region. And on December 2nd, the ritual also to revive the festival, we are held at Buko Boma grounds, officiated, that is also by the current Sapini cultural leader, that is Peter Sulikei Kisa. The event was held, that is last held in 1969, according to information we are receiving. That means it has been long overdue that we last held this event. Now the event was supported by Action Aid International Uganda, the United Nations Population Fund, and the local governments from the Sebei sub-region, among others, to make sure this also activity comes back. And today we are talking about also this activity, where we hope also other bad practices cannot be promoted, and we have also we want to also make sure that this also utilizes the main and intended purpose for that. And guests including local clan and religious leaders, political figures, and government representatives yesterday attended the event, and KISA expressed appreciation that's for the support received particularly from the AIU, UNFPA, and Eastern and Sub-Saharan Africa, which have also really channeled support for that. And that is exactly what we are following up on. Remember, many cultural institutions are already organizing the activities, and in Yumbe district we are going to be having the cultural gala that will be going on on the 21st of this month. That means we shall be having the cultural gala, which has been organized already, where we shall be having the different also the cultural institution of Yumbe showcasing their culture. If you look at Aringa itself, there are a lot of cultural, maybe clans, which also have differences in their cultures, in terms of music, in terms of how to do their things. All that will be showcased. That is towards also the cultural day. That is also where we shall be having that in Yumbe on the 21st. That will be going on in there. And I will be letting you know more details in the coming days of how we shall be seeing that happening. But I really want to assure you, the preparations are already in high gear. And with that, we come to the end of this half of the hour. When we return back, we shall be looking at the international stories and some of those national stories. And summarize the day will be with the world of sports. And talking about the world of sports, yesterday I want to say that there is excitement, most especially amongst the soccer lovers. Manchester United Arsenal fans are already saying we want to see who is who, and I believe that will be coming on today. And also more of that also will be coming through on the whistle time with Owen Zaga, Linda Suzy from 2 to 3 p.m. on the whistle time, where they will be giving that information in relation to what is happening in there. And I hope at the right time they will be also giving you maybe which team will be winning in terms of predictions, because they may also predict it rightly, and that is where we hope they will be giving you that detailed and comprehensive analysis of what's happening in the world of sports. But for now, we are taking a short commercial break. When we return back, the discussions will be continuing into the final half. Stay tuned.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
Unwrap your holiday cheers with Start Times this Christmas season. Starting the 15th of November, simply pay your monthly subscription for the next bouquet and automatically enjoy content on the next higher bouquet, plus a chance to win exciting prizes. Your gift box contains variety of local entertainment and fresh shows, exciting cartoon and fun kids entertainment, mega superstars, local and international, a memorable trip to Spain to watch a La Liga match. And that's not all. Lots of prizes to be won, including ZTE Nubia smartphones with free 15 GB Airtel data. Star Times gift that keeps on giving. Merry Christmas. This message is powered by ZTE Nubia. Better for all.
West Nile TV, lighting up the region.
All right, welcome back into the final half of the show for today, and this is the Wednesday edition of the KOKOLIRIKO live show, and today happens to be the 4th day into the month of December. We are counting down towards the festive season. How many days are we left with? That is Christmas. You can do the calculations better, and that would also help you in planning, because if you do not also know the days remaining, then planning may be very much difficult for you. And I really want to say, as we are getting closer to this period, it's always proper for us to avoid overspending. Let's spend within our limits. It's also a time that we must sit with our families. Things are difficult. Many times I've had people who are complaining, many people who are crying out because they feel they are not doing well. That means just like them, many others as well out there are going through financial breakdowns. So I think it's high time that we sit down with our families. Let's tell them that things are not well. Children are already home. Let's plan for January, because many times people spend during festive season like this, and then when the children are returning back in January, there's no money. So I think it's proper for us to sort of spend wisely as we are planning to save and also planning to spend within this festive period. Let's think about January. It's the time when children will be going back to school perhaps, and that is where we do not want to spend all the monies being spent on buying clothes, buying food, maybe enjoying, buying beer. It may not also do something important. Let's spend wisely. Let's spend within our limits, so that by January, when children will be returning back home, they will be returning without difficulties, and they will be going back to school as happy children. That is how we shall be seeing that also happening, and that is also where we must pray that God blesses our hands within this period, because sometimes somebody out there may be watching me and saying that, which money now should I plan? What do I have? Still, I want to say, God can still change those things. It's only about prayers and hard work. That is how, at the end of the day, you will be achieving what you want. It also is just a quite quick reminder to all who are out there. And at the right time, you take this message very, very much keenly in there. And that is what we are seeing. And yesterday, we did see the world celebrating the World Disability Day, and I was able to also give you stories about them, and still on about the day. As we get to also move on, we did see breaking barriers on disability stigma is another story that we did see, and this is where we did see the world celebrating the World International Day for Persons Living with Disability on December 3rd of 2004. A spotlight was shined on urgent need for inclusivity and compassion, and we did see for Dr. Adrian Juko, a human rights lawyer and executive director of the Human Rights Awareness and Promotion Forum, says this day holds a deeply personal significance. And as a father of Adrian Juko, a junior and a bright and talented autistic also child, Juko has also embarked on a journey of discovered and empowerment. And despite the challenges that come with it, Junior has also uncovered a remarkable passion for baking, a skill he hopes to turn into also a fulfilling career. And Juko's story is also a powerful testament to the importance of embracing diversity and promoting inclusivity. And as he navigates also the complexities of parenting a child with autism, he has also come to realize that disability is not inability. With the right also really supported and accommodations, individuals also really with disabilities can thrive and reach their full potential. Sometimes we see people living with disability as people who cannot do anything, people who are underprivileged. We see them as useless people, but that's not the case. For Juko, you have heard, he is one person who is supporting his child, and he hopes the child can also at one time reach out his full potential, and the child is now having energy and interest in baking. So I think it's also proper for us to identify a skill in which we must put these children, and if it is a maybe shoemaking, let's put them there, because at the end we have seen people who are doing shoemaking. Today they are rich. There are people who have had monies, and then that means this job is no longer even for persons living with disability alone. We can still do it, but it's always proper for us to sort of embrace and support these children within these activities, and that is how at the end of the day we shall be seeing them reaching their full potential. So I think it's also proper that we must also talk to them and also encourage them to advocate for such rights, which will also at the end of the day make sure that they improve on the levels. Now Juko is, however, concerned whether society is ready to embrace Julia's potential, and he knows that stigma and ignorance still remain also stringent barriers, as also the laws need to be enforced and also really put in place to protect persons living with disability, to make sure that they are not also stigmatized, because stigma remains a great challenge. And somebody may be asking, what are some of the challenges of stigma? And societal stigma often leads to harmful behaviors, including parents stigmatizing their own children by keeping them also really hidden or distressing them also from them, and that is really very much wrong. If your child is disabled, if your child is having a disability, we do not expect you to hide them. Bring them, show them to the world, show the world that indeed these are your children. I don't know how often people also, parents take their children with disability out. I don't know how often they do that, because many times you go to happening places to find children with disability, it is always a challenge. And yet Uganda is having a population of over 2,000 children living with disability across the country. If you look at the number, it's quite overwhelming. So I think it's also something we must also talk about, as we did see that happening. Meanwhile, for the facilities also have a great challenge, and Aloysius Mutawe, the director of Golden Bamboo Children's Center, a therapy center for children with special needs, highlighted most also therapy centers in Kampala cater exclusivity to children with disability, and as children grow older, their access to also these resources diminishes. Now the gap in support, coupled with societal unpreparedness to accept also people with disabilities, is also another challenge. Also, where you did see that happening, that people abandon their children. People also abandon children with disability, and sometimes we see them facing a lot of challenges. So I think it's also something that also we must shine light on as we celebrate this day with persons living with disability, so that solely at the end of the day, no child with disability feels neglected. We must also make sure they feel happy. They must feel that much as they are disabled, they have not been left out by their parents. Their parents have always stood by them, and that is how at the end of the day we shall be seeing improvement onto the lives of persons living with disability, most especially the children who are most vulnerable to some of these vices, where at the end of the day they lack and also find it very much difficult to live in the society. And that is where breaking the barriers against societal stigma is very, very much important. People love calling them all sorts of names, but really I don't want to call them also those names, and that is where we feel these names should go away. If I told I am so and so, there's no need for you to call me this and that. Their names, their titles. In Arua here, people also call them, most especially in Lugbalati, which sound to me very much bad. So I think it's also something we must also be able to also embark on and tell the society to give an environment that is enabling. We have had scenarios where people living with disability have lost their tempers. Others have also reached an extent of insulting. So I think it's also something which we feel is also really very much good. We must therefore stop calling the PWDs those names, and that is how at the end of the day they will be feeling inclusive, because we want to see a society that is inclusive for all. We want to be together. We want to also make sure that at the end of the day nothing also really makes them feel very much bad, and that is exactly what we are going to putting a discussion aside with, and we hope at the right time that discussion also really will be making sure that also really nothing bad happens, and we want to see how, of course, that is happening. Now, coffee prices recover, interest from bulk buyers, quality beans rising, according to the new story that we're seeing. Remember, recently we had a number of stories being talked about coffee, where also the UCDA was moved in a way many people accepted and also believed that could have happened. And Minister of Agriculture, and that is according to government. Also, now we are seeing price of coffee have increased in Ibana district month on month. That's exactly what we are seeing, and boosted by growing demand. Quality beans, according to dealers and farmers. Now the Arabica coffee now costs, that is shillings 14,000 per kilogram, rising from 13,000. And during the first week of also November, however, Arabica coffee goes by shillings, that's 13,500 a kilogram. That's in Kachangura, in Chigongo division, that's in Ibana municipality, compared to the last previous editions where it was 12,500 over the same period. Now Robusta coffee goes for shillings 13,700. That is from 12,000. That means the farmers who have planted coffee from that sub-region must be excited that coffee beans are increasing, and that is also the price also shooting up. and that is where they will be making profits also really as a result of also really several interventions to make sure also that nothing bad happens to them, and that is how we also want to see this also improving on, and that is where we shall be also putting discussion aside. And the gracious Chiwawayo of Nyakatoye Coffee Growers Cooperative Society on December 3rd of this year said prices have been lifted by growing interest from Kampala bulk buyers. That means today we have people who are moving in that area to buy coffee in bulk, to also make sure that also they come and sell it in there. Now that is also where we are seeing coffee price increasing, where Junario Turiamreva, the chairperson of Kachangura Coffee Cooperative Society in Kagongo subdivision, also projects the price of Robusta coffee to hit shillings 15,000 by the end of the month, as he advises farmers also to also harvest only the red cherries, and ensuring also that proper post-harvest handling of the coffee is done. That means after harvesting, they must make sure that the coffee is kept well, and that is how at the end of the day we shall be seeing them getting the money they want. And we did see the farmer, that's in the names of Turea Mureba, also appealing to government to provide agricultural loans to rural farmers to enable them to improve their plantation. Now coffee growing is one of the enterprises promoted by Ibanda, along with dairy farming. Banana growing and piggery are also among others also known in that area. That means we must also make sure, as West Nile sub-region, we also have certain things that identify with us. Today, on a quite sad note, we do not have any crop as West Nile sub-region that we are known for. We do not have it as West Nile sub-region. Let's say this is what we are known for, because if you move to West Nile, Western Uganda and Kole, you know that at least these are cattle keepers, these are dairy farmers, they are banana planters. Do you know this? Move to Eastern, there's something that always identifies them with, most especially Busoga sub-region. You know that these are areas where people plant sugarcane. What about in Bunyoro? You know that this is an area where certain goods are coming from. But as West Nile sub-region, we do not have any crop that identifies us. So it becomes difficult sometimes for us to sort of negotiate at the international market for certain prices. So I think it's sort of something as leaders and as people of this sub-region, we must also be advocating for, so that when we start advocating for that, we shall be knowing what exactly to do and how we want to also move to also make sure that we improve on our livelihoods as citizens of this country when it comes to poverty eradication drives. And that is where we shall be seeing it happening, and at the right time with the good climate that we have. We should be able to sort of advocate now for coffee, and if we cannot advocate for coffee, cocoa is another crop that if we planted in high maybe volumes, then we could have also really gotten the monies we want. Over the years, we have been known for growing tobacco, but I really want to say we must desist from practice of growing tobacco, because tobacco is a bit tedious, and we have had our farmers incurring losses. Update, the farmers are still demanding to also have the monies also that they made also realized, because many of them also incurred losses, most especially at the time when they were duped by Continental. Update, most of the farmers are still demanding for their monies. So I think at the right time we should be able to advocate for certain of these crops that we can also harvest twice, we can harvest thrice before necessarily also cutting down and then replanting again, because this is a bit tedious. So my appeal will be that let's also identify some of these crops like coffee. For instance, in Buganda, we are now seeing under their Mwaniterimba campaign, many people have embraced coffee plantations, and many people have also are making money out of that. So I think it is not a crop that you are going to be harvesting once, you're not going to be harvesting twice, but for upper seasons. So I think it's proper as people of West Nile sub-region for us to also embrace some of these activities. Now, leaving that aside, looking at some of the stories still within the new vision, this morning we are seeing over 73,000 guns fingerprinted to combat gun violence. So we are seeing this is also in a bid to curb gun violence in the country and enhance the public safety. Now the government has registered a whopping 92% of all illegally issued firearms to Uganda Police Force and Uganda Prison Service and private security organizations and privately owned civilians firearms of also that's since 2018. To date, we are now seeing also government also trying to fingerprint them. Now, aware that security is a vital precondition for meaningful socioeconomic activity, Prime 7 has issued presidential directives to all security agencies on June 20th of 2018 during an address, that is Parliament's kickstarting the groundbreaking exercise to track and identify firearms. And now, according to Internal Affairs Minister, Major General retired Kaindo Tafire, the fingerprinting process involves collecting and analyzing the unique markings left on cartridges, also cases and bullets fired by also from the gun. That means they are going to be also making sure that this activity is not also happening, because over time we have had stories where people have been living in fear as a result of this gun. Now presenting on Tuesday, December 3rd, that is 2024, at the Office of the President Auditorium in Kampala on the status of the implementation of the National Unity Movement Party Manifesto 2021-2026. Otafire also insisted that this has been done using integrated ballistics information systems to eliminating what we call illegal firearms entering the country. But with our porous border points, how maybe is exercise going to be working? Because we have had stories of illegal firearms entering the country, most especially in the Western sub-region, where we're bordering two countries of the Democratic Republic of Congo and South Sudan, where we are also being told guns are circulating in numbers. So how ready are we as citizens, as members also of the society, to make sure that these guns that are fingerprinted are safe? What about those that are not going to be fingerprinted? Because I want to assure you that with the porous border points, we may not necessarily have this campaign as sustainable, as also maybe as efficient in there, because many times we have had those challenges. So how ready are we for all this? That is what exactly we also want to see happening, and we hope at the right time we shall be also having our thoughts and opinions shared on that. Now, calls grow for South Korea president to step down after martial law chaos. As we are seeing on our international story this morning, this is in South Korea, where we did see protesters demanding for the president to step down after the martial law chaos. And that is what we are seeing, where demonstrators already have been demanding. That's in North Korea, where they also demanded for North Korea's president, that is Yoon Suk Yeol, also lifted also an order imposing martial law after chaotic also night. So MPs also block his surprise also move. That is exactly what we did see happening in there, and that is also some story we are seeing, where demonstrators also had gathered outside Parliament to protest the sudden also introduction of military law, which later was celebrated also by also each and everyone, and that's where we did see that happening. Now they are also going calls both by lawmakers and protesters also for you to be impeached, and that is exactly what we are following up on. Shall he be impeached after imposing the law martial? And that's also something which we did see also that discussion also sparking mixed reaction. But how ready are we for all that as also maybe as international communities? How do we learn from that? And that is exactly what we are seeing happening in North Korea, and we hope at the right time more details of that will be also coming up in our subsequent programs in that I will be coming back tomorrow, and also let you know of how that, of course, will be also moving on. And we are going to leave that discussion aside, and remember, we are going to be summarizing our day as always with what's happening in the world of sports. In the world of sports, we are seeing also the leagues moving on and becoming competitive, right? The regional leagues, where teams are showing indeed they are powerful. If you look at teams also like Nebi Central, teams like Arua City Football Club, you know that these teams are struggling and also making sure that they want to lift and also move to next league next season. And that is where we are seeing these games very, very much competitive now, where all times people want to also win the home games, and with the support also increasing, we are now seeing people slowly by slowly embracing to watch the regional leagues, and that is quite interesting. Meanwhile, the four big league, which are currently on break, we shall be seeing them returning back on the 7th, where we shall be seeing game between Chigezi Home Boys and Chiinda Boys. That will be on 7th. Meanwhile, on the 8th, we shall be seeing another derby that's between Black Spur and Paida Black Angels. And Boma, on the same day, will be taking on, that's Buhimba, and Busoga United will be tussling it out against, that is Ntunga Saze. Karo Karunji, on the same day of 8th, will be playing, that is also the Calvary, another West Nile side. And Kataka will be hosting on the Paraka Football Club, which is proving that they are on a steadfast return. That is the Southern Uganda Premier League next season. We are keenly following up on, and we want to see how, of course, that will be also moving on. And that is how the four big league is looking like. Meanwhile, for Southern Uganda Premier League, I also want to say it is getting competitive, where surprises have started bouncing back, and that is where we did start happening. And remember, today we shall be having two games on card that will be between Bull Football Club taking on UPDF Football Club, and we shall be seeing Police hosting Wakiso Giants. That is another three game that which we shall be seeing today, and the games also will be returning back tomorrow, where we shall be seeing Barra City playing on Maroons. URA will be hosting Neck Football Club, and that is also how these games also will be going on. Meanwhile, for the biggest games that will be taking on place tonight, I want to say the games are also really returning back. And how ready are we for all that? And how are we going to be also spending this night? And that means to women, if from today your men return back home late, understand they are playing football, maybe they're watching football, and that is also something which we shall be seeing today, and where we shall be seeing games in the English Premier League. That is where we shall be seeing Everton taking on Wolves. Manchester City, after also really losing very many games in line in there, they will be returning in action against Nottingham Forest, and are they going to be returning back to winning ways? That's something that remains unclear. Meanwhile, another interesting game will be between Newcastle Football Club against against Liverpool Football Club, and Southampton will be taking on Chelsea, and Arsenal Football Club will be taking on Manchester United. Meanwhile, Aston Villa will be up in action against Brentford. These are some of the games that will be going on today, and with that we come to the end of the discussions, and more details of what's happening in the world of sports will be coming through from 2 to 3 p.m. Owen Zaga, Leader Suzu will be here from 2 to 3 p.m. to give you that. And then other programs will be following up. And up next is the Eras and News Bulletin with Fete Manuel. I'm out until tomorrow.